She collapsed in pain. The cowboy lifted her. "No one will hurt you anymore." The stagecoach had gone, leaving her alone in the swirling dust and scorching sun. She collapsed, trembling too weak to rise, her small voice barely a whisper, "Please, don't leave me." Then he appeared, a lone cowboy boots, dusty hat pulled low, eyes steady. He saw her fear and made a choice. "Ma'am, you'll be safe," he said softly. Gently draping his coat over her shivering shoulders, he lifted her onto his horse, murmuring, "Someone should have helped me once." Inside a cabin, he set her down, warmed her hands with tea, and whispered, "Sip slowly. The storm's fierce outside." Their pasts touched quietly. "I was left too," he admitted. And in that moment, he promised, "You're safe here." Before we begin, take a moment to comment your city. Where are you watching from today? And when the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Now settle into a quiet place. Breathe deep, and let the whispers of the Wild West carry you into tonight's tale. The scorching sun beat down on Redemption Springs, turning the dusty street outside the general store into a shimmer of heat and haze. A thin veil of red dust rose with every gust of wind, curling around the wooden posts and the tired boards of the store porch. It was the kind of heat that made your skin prickle and the air itself feel heavy, clinging. Amid the swirls of dust, a small, fragile figure stumbled across the street. Rebecca Porter had been left behind by the stagecoach, her dress torn and smudged with dirt, her steps unsteady. She collapsed onto the dry earth arms, trembling as she tried and failed to lift herself. The sun caught the sweat on her brow, the bruises dark against her pale skin, and for a long moment, she simply lay there alone, the vast western town stretching out around her like a desert of silence. From the porch of the general store, a shadow detached itself from the sunlit boards. Nathan Harding, broad-shouldered hat pulled low to shield his eyes, watched her with a calm, measured gaze. His hand hovered near the revolver at his hip, though he had no intention of drawing it, not yet. Instead, he studied the small, quivering woman on the ground, noting the purple bruises at her wrists and the cut marring her lip. The truth of what she had endured was written clearly in the tension of her shoulders and the way her breath caught in her chest. Without a word, Nathan stepped into the sun-baked street boots, kicking up small clouds of dust with each measured stride. He reached her side and knelt, careful not to startle her. "Madam," he said softly, his voice carrying across the dry air. Rebecca flinched instinctively, shielding her face, but Nathan's tone was steady, gentle. "I ain't gonna hurt you." She tried to rise, whispering, "I can walk." But the effort betrayed her, and she sagged back into the dirt. Nathan's eyes softened. "Sure you can," he replied, not breaking his calm stride, "but humor me anyway." Gently, he slid one arm beneath her knees, the other around her shoulders, lifting her with surprising ease. The motion was careful, deliberate, as if he were cradling a fragile treasure. She was light, too light, and the tension in her body spoke louder than words ever could. Her breaths came fast, shallow, and he could feel them against his chest, hear the subtle hitching of her ribs. Nathan carried her across the uneven street, past the general store, and the distant clang of a loose sign swaying in the heat toward the small building with a hand-painted sign, "Doc Sullivan, M.D." Each step was measured protective. The dust swirled around them, but did not reach her. In that quiet act, a sense of safety began to settle over Rebecca, a delicate, almost imperceptible warmth that pushed back against the sharp sting of the day's ordeal. Inside the doctor's office, the air smelled faintly of carbolic acid and whiskey. Nathan lowered her gently onto the worn examination table. She closed her eyes, exhaustion finally overcoming her fear. And in the soft, deliberate care of this stranger, the first hint of healing began to take root. Part 1. Beginning to recover. Doc Sullivan's office was located at the very end of Redemption Springs Main Street, a small but tidy room overlooking a red dirt courtyard and a few seasonal scrubs. The space was slightly stuffy, with the smell of carbolic and alcohol, yet it carried a sense of stability, like a place where anyone in trouble could find help. Sunlight streamed through the window, washing the pale brown walls with warm golden rays, softening the chill that might otherwise make the room feel forbidding. Nathan gently lowered Rebecca Porter onto the old examination table. Her eyes were closed, her body trembling from exhaustion. She could feel her skin burning under the harsh sunlight outside, her heartbeat racing as if it wanted to leap from her chest. Nathan stood nearby, his gaze filled with concern, his hand still lightly holding her arm, creating a sense of security like a solid wall. Each step he took sent red dust dancing in the light outside the window. But inside, there was only quiet and the heavy breathing of Rebecca. She looks exhausted. Nathan thought, his eyes scanning her frail body, the fading bruises on her wrists and arms. He had never seen a woman so delicate yet carrying the marks of pain and violence. A strong surge of sorrow and responsibility rose within him, compelling him to do everything to ensure her safety. Doc Sullivan entered, a middle-aged man with a serious face, yet eyes that held warmth. He leaned over, observing Rebecca carefully. "Hello," he said in a deep, slightly quivering voice. "Just stay still. I'll examine you carefully." Rebecca opened her eyes slightly, both surprised and anxious. I'm fine. I just need a little rest," she said, weakly, every word carrying the tension of a tired body. Nathan quickly looked at her, furrowing his brow, then placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let the doctor handle this. You don't need to do anything," he said, his voice warm and firm, creating an invisible shield between her and any lingering danger outside. Doc Sullivan began checking every detail: pulse, blood pressure, bruises, and other signs of fatigue. "We have 3 broken ribs, multiple bruises, a minor head injury, and mild dehydration," he said, his voice calm but decisive. Rebecca closed her eyes, feeling as if every ache in her body was being recognized and understood. Nathan leaned close, his eyes following every movement of the doctor, ready to assist if needed. While Doc Sullivan busied himself preparing pain medication, Nathan used a clean cloth to wipe the sweat from Rebecca's forehead, his gaze gentle and empathetic. She caught his eyes for a fleeting moment and felt a small jolt of electricity. A man strong yet tender, willing to protect her without her having to ask. "Who is he?" Rebecca whispered in that private moment. But Nathan only smiled softly. "Just someone making sure you're safe," he replied, his voice deep enough for her to feel the sincerity. The words brief as they were carried more power than any promise. They made her feel she was no longer abandoned, no longer alone. The bruises on Rebecca's wrists reminded her of a painful past of Charles, the man she once thought was a safe harbor. But Nathan, with his quiet yet piercing eyes, had drawn an invisible line inside this room. Within his protective presence, she no longer had to fear. She drew a deep breath, inhaling the scent of antiseptic, the warmth of Nathan, and the soft golden light from the window. For the first time in days, she felt she could breathe slowly again. Doc Sullivan finished the examination carefully, dressing her wounds and placing a painkiller in her hand. "You need to rest," he said. Nathan stood by, ensuring Rebecca had nothing else to worry about. He gently lifted a blanket onto her shoulders, as careful as if he didn't want to hurt her again. Rebecca looked at Nathan, her eyes a mixture of surprise and gratitude. She didn't know what to say. Words couldn't express the safety she had just found. Nathan stood there silent, but protective, his eyes following every breath she took. In this moment, no words were needed. His presence alone was enough to heal a part of her wounded heart. Time passed slowly. Nathan sat close to Rebecca, watching her every movement as she tried to sit up and take a deep breath. She trembled, but didn't fall. He placed his hand on her back, keeping her balanced. That sense of safety, simple as it was what she had longed for over the past days. Every gesture, every glance from Nathan seemed to say, "Here you have nothing to fear." She began to feel warmth spreading through her body, not from medicine or sunlight, but from Nathan's steady, gentle presence. Feeling protected and understood for the first time after days of betrayal and abandonment brought tears not of fear, but of a newfound peace. Nathan gently helped her lie back down, placing a pillow under her back and pulling the blanket over her shoulders. "Rest now," he reminded her, his deep, warm voice soothing. Rebecca closed her eyes, breathing more slowly, feeling his heartbeat beside her, like the pulse of a steadfast mountain shielding her from any storm outside. In that small office of Doc Sullivan's, Rebecca felt the first sign of healing, not a miracle, not a grand promise, but care, empathy, and the solid presence of Nathan Harding, a man she had never known yet, who brought a profound sense of peace. Time passed slowly. The light outside faded, and inside the silence was broken only by the crackle of the fire and her steady breathing. Nathan remained by her side, eyes following every movement. The sense of abandonment and violence seemed to recede, making room for safety and gradually growing trust. In this moment, Rebecca realized one thing: she was no longer alone. Nathan was the solid wall she could lean on, the gentle light in the scorching desert amidst red dust and harsh sun of the Wild West. And for the first time, after many days of struggling with pain and fear, she felt her heart could open, beginning to believe that hope could exist, that there could be a safe place to return to. Part 2. At Nathan's ranch. After leaving Doc Sullivan's office, Nathan gently placed Rebecca onto the old horse-drawn wagon, covering her with a thick blanket the doctor had prepared. The wagon rolled over the uneven red dirt road, each gust of wind sending fine dust rising like mist. Every bump of the wheels sent sharp jolts through Rebecca's weary body, but Nathan kept the pace slow and steady, ensuring she suffered no further harm. Leaning against the stack of blankets and pillows, Rebecca closed her eyes, occasionally glancing at Nathan. He wore an old leather jacket, neat despite its wear. A wide-brimmed hat shielded him from the sun. His gaze was calm, yet attentive, following her smallest movements. That steady, protective presence gave her a sense of safety she had never known. When they arrived at Double H Ranch, Rebecca was genuinely awed. The large, sturdy house stood amidst lush fields surrounded by white fences. Outbuildings, horse stables, and spacious yards spread out before her. The scenery was beautiful, yet strong, much like Nathan himself, silent, commanding, yet harboring a hidden gentleness. He led her to the veranda, where the prairie breeze carried the dry scent of grass, the aroma of horse leather, and faint traces of burning wood from the hearth. Sitting in the kitchen, Rebecca felt a comforting warmth ease her heart. A large wooden table, a simple yet clean tablecloth, a few low wooden chairs, and the golden light of the oil lamps dancing on the walls and ceiling created an inviting scene. Nathan poured water into a cup and placed a bowl of hot soup before her, gently saying, "Eat. It'll help you regain your strength." His deep, steady voice carried genuine concern. Rebecca trembled as she held the spoon. Hungry and sore, she felt comforted by the simple taste of the soup and the tender care. Nathan sat across from her, saying little, merely watching her movements, a faint smile appearing as she took her first spoonful. The space was quiet, broken only by the soft wind through the slightly open window, the clink of the spoon, and her steady breathing. After the meal, Nathan helped her to the veranda, where the wooden armchairs were angled toward the sprawling fields. Rebecca leaned back, closing her eyes, inhaling deeply, feeling her breathing even out, and sensing her body gradually relaxing. Nathan stood beside her, hands clasped in front eyes, never leaving her, guarding something precious, without needing words. "Are you all right?" Nathan asked, his voice deep and warm. Rebecca shook her head lightly, a faint but sincere smile crossing her face. I feel a little at peace," she admitted, her voice soft but trusting. Nathan nodded, without another word. The steady presence, the safe space, was enough to begin healing the pain in her heart. The afternoon passed slowly, sunlight fading to gold across the fields. Nathan took her on a tour of the ranch, showing her the stables, the grazing cattle, and the small garden with vegetables and wildflowers. Rebecca listened intently as he spoke, his tone gentle as he recounted building the ranch from scratch, every failure and small success. Nathan's stories carried both the weight of experience and tenderness when he looked at her, sharing reassurance and instilling a sense of safety and trust. Rebecca felt herself shedding layers of fear and loneliness, replaced by security and warmth. She began to speak of herself, of the weary days of Charles, and of dreams that seemed lost. Nathan listened quietly, never interrupting, occasionally nodding, or lightly placing a hand on the table, a small gesture filled with care. His attentive presence made her feel understood, a rare sensation she had longed for. As the sunset bathed the ranch in golden light, Nathan helped Rebecca settle back in the armchair, placing an extra blanket over her shoulders. The evening breeze carried the scent of dry grass and earth, soft yellow light falling across her face, and all her aches seemed to fade. He didn't need to speak, simply standing close with his protective gaze, and she realized that for the first time in many days, she truly felt at peace. That evening, the kitchen prepared a simple yet comforting meal. Nathan handled everything thoughtfully, placing the food before Rebecca and reminding her to eat slowly. She took spoonfuls, savoring the gentle care and stability surrounding her. Every gesture, from pouring water, adjusting her chair, to watching her eat, seemed to say, "You are safe, and I will protect you." After the meal, they sat again on the veranda, gazing at the star-filled western sky. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the rustle of leaves and the crackling fire. Rebecca leaned back, hugging a pillow, feeling tenderness spread through her body. Nathan sat beside her eyes, following her without wavering. His presence was like a solid wall she could lean against, a steady anchor in the wild western expanse. In that moment, Rebecca realized that for the first time in many days, she felt truly sheltered, a sense of safety and trust she had thought lost forever. Nathan needed no grand promises or dramatic gestures. His care, empathy, and steadfast presence were enough to show her she was on safe ground. The evening passed in comfortable silence. Words were unnecessary. Gestures, glances, and synchronized breathing created a gentle rhythm healing her. Rebecca observed Nathan, noticing every small detail: his steady hands, gentle eyes, slow and deliberate breath. She told herself that this was the first time she could fully trust someone, allowing her heart to soften and begin its recovery. When the night ended, Nathan helped her into her bedroom, neatly tucking the blankets and drawing the curtains. He paused, watching her lie still in bed, then quietly left. Rebecca closed her eyes, warmth spreading from these small actions, from Nathan's silent yet responsible presence. For the first time, she felt truly protected, no longer alone in the Wild West. And within her, a faint spark of hope flickered. She knew that with Nathan Harding by her side, every pain, every fear would slowly heal. She allowed herself to believe that a new day, a new life full of warmth and safety awaited her. Part 3. Revealing the painful past. The sunset bathed the small room in golden light, where a piano rested in the corner. The soft wind whistled through the cracks in the doors, mingling with the scent of aged wood and the faint aroma of warm tea on the table. The light was bright yet gentle, highlighting Rebecca Porter's face and the fading bruises on her wrists and arms. She sat in the armchair, hands resting on her knees, looking at Nathan Harding with eyes that were both wary and searching. Nathan stood near the piano, his hat removed, eyes following her smallest movements. He was quiet, yet in his gaze, Rebecca sensed profound care, like a solid wall, ready to shield her from any pain. The room was so still that the ticking of the clock on the wall seemed amplified, each slow, steady tick emphasizing every moment. Do you want to hear about me?" Rebecca finally spoke, her voice, low, trembling, yet resolute. Nathan nodded gently, his eyes softening, neither rushed nor judgmental. "If you wish to share, I will listen," he replied, his voice warm and respectful. That simple statement made her feel safe, as if a protective wall had been erected around her from the very first moment. She took a deep breath, her eyes welling with tears, but controlled, and began to tell her story about Charles, the man she once believed was a safe harbor. "I trusted him. I thought I would be protected, but no." She swallowed each word, trying to hold back the pain visible in her eyes. "The very first day, he He hit me. I cried, but no one could hear me. And when I thought help would come, the stagecoach left me lying there in the red dust and blazing sun, completely alone. Nathan remained silent, his eyes thoughtful. He did not interrupt. He simply let her speak, occasionally, furrowing his brow, inhaling deeply, and observing her injuries and expressions. That attentive presence was the strongest comfort Rebecca had ever felt. She was not judged, not hurried, only fully understood with a steady support beneath her. When she paused, Nathan stepped closer to the piano, placing his hands lightly on the polished keys. He did not play, merely touched them as if to provide rhythm to her story, and spoke in a deep but warm voice. I understand you. I have experienced loss. Those I thought were my everything, my wife, and the child yet to be born. I couldn't save them. That pain left a void I thought could never be filled. Rebecca looked at him eyes wide, seemingly seeking the truth and the depth of his sorrow. Nathan nodded lightly, affirming that he spoke from real experience, that he had truly endured loss. That feeling left her choked with emotion, a profound empathy flowing into her heart, soothing the pain she had carried through days of abandonment. She clenched her hands, eyes brimming with tears, but this time not from fear or despair, rather from a strange relief. Someone, a strong, quiet man, had endured suffering like hers, and still stood here, protecting her without being asked. She began to realize that the pain of the past need not be borne alone, that it could be shared and understood. Nathan continued, his voice low and measured. We all have stories that are not easy to tell, but if we dare to open our hearts, we find healing. He looked straight into Rebecca's eyes, his gaze sincere and gentle with no pressure. I will not leave you alone, not ever again. Rebecca felt that promise was not mere words, but a profound commitment. A small current of warmth passed through her chest, allowing her to breathe more deeply. The weight on her shoulders partially lifted. She began to recount in more detail the days of enduring Charles's violence, the loneliness, the despair of thinking no one in the world would care for her. Nathan listened patiently, occasionally bowing his head, his hands pressing lightly on the arm of the chair, as if to send an unspoken message. I am here. I understand. I protect you. That silent listening made Rebecca feel safe, and for the first time in many days, a glimmer of hope crept in. She spoke of her original dream, to teach in Santa Fe, to live a normal, free, and purposeful life. Nathan said nothing, simply observing her, his eyes full of respect, as if every story, every wound, every dream mattered. You still have hope, he said softly, affirming, and I will help you hold on to that hope. The wind outside whispered through the door, cracks blending with the brilliant sunset light on the walls. Rebecca felt lighter, as though layers of fear, despair, and loneliness were being lifted away by Nathan little by little. She realized her pain was no longer solitary. Nathan was not only a physical protector, but also a guardian of her spirit, a gentle presence in the Wild West. In the quiet moment, Rebecca placed her hands on the piano keys, not playing, yet simply feeling the solidity of the wood. Nathan stood nearby, his gaze full of trust, unhurried. She sensed that opening up, sharing the painful past did not just aid her healing, it deepened their connection. He shared more about his days alone, grappling with loss, and the responsibility of running the ranch. His voice was not plaintive, merely the truth, shared gently yet sincerely. Rebecca listened, eyes closed, absorbing each word, each story, like a cool stream flowing through her soul, washing away remaining traces of pain. Their stories interwoven between Rebecca's past and Nathan's. The sunset-lit room, the scent of wood, the soft breeze, and distant birdsong created a gentle rhythm of life and healing. Both realized that pain was no longer a cage. Through empathy, they could open their hearts, share, and find hope. As the sunset light faded, the room was suffused with gentleness. Nathan looked at Rebecca, his deep, warm voice saying, "You've endured too much. But now, you are no longer alone." Rebecca closed her eyes, a single tear sliding down her cheek this time. A tear of trust and hope, no longer of fear. They sat together, the day's last light dimming the breeze drifting through the window, and a sense of safety spreading. In this moment, Rebecca knew she had found someone who could understand her, share her pain, and protect her. She could open her heart, begin to believe it could heal, and that a gentle, safe connection was blossoming. The revelation of her painful past was not only a confession, but also the beginning of trust and deep connection between her and Nathan. The empathy, gentleness, and safety he provided laid a firm foundation for love healing and hope to grow. Part 4. Confronting Charles. The afternoon sunlight softened over redemption. Spring's wooden houses casting long shadows across the red dirt street. The one-room schoolhouse where Rebecca would begin her work sat at the end of the street, overlooking vast fields and distant mountains. The old wooden door creaked as Rebecca opened it, stepping inside to arrange books desks and prepare for her first class. Her body still ached from weeks of recovery, but her mind brimmed with determination. She wanted to start a new chapter, one filled with safety and hope. Rebecca carefully organized the books, tapping lightly on each desk, the sound echoing through the empty room. A gentle joy welled up within her as she imagined the children who would enter the classroom, their curious eyes and innocent smiles bringing life to the space. She smiled to herself, savoring a sense of peace. Finally, after so many long days, she could be in control, no longer a victim of the past. But that peace lasted only moments. The schoolhouse door burst open, the clatter of boots on the wooden floor startling her. A strong scent of alcohol hit her nose, followed by a gruff, harsh voice. "Thought you could hide from me, Rebecca." She spun around, her heart tightening. Charles, his face flushed red from drink eyes wild with aggression, fingers trembling with rage as he pointed toward her. Rebecca stepped back, keeping her distance, her heart racing. "Charles, you can't," she stammered, but her words shattered against the tangible hostility before her. Charles advanced, hand clenched, gripping her arm painfully. "You're coming with me. Who else will protect you?" His voice drowned out the wind from the window. At that moment, Nathan appeared in the doorway, walking steadily, his presence calm but commanding. His gaze swept over Charles, sharp and controlled. "Touch her again, and you will regret it for the rest of your life." Nathan said, his voice, deep, every syllable firm and unyielding. The room seemed to still, the wind and the creaking floor fading, leaving only the three of them in a tense confrontation. Charles laughed hoarsely, voice rough. "You don't need to worry." She's my fiancée. I have the right outdated. Rebecca interrupted voice, trembling but resolute. You hit me, took my money, and abandoned me. I have nothing left with you. Nathan stepped forward, his strong hands clenched. Charles lunged, trying to resist, but his strength was no match for Nathan's calm power. In an instant, Nathan restrained him, holding him firmly, his eyes like a shield, his expression cold as stone. Rebecca stepped back, the fear dissipating, replaced by absolute safety. Charles struggled, clawing and shouting, "You're lying. You're always making things up." Rebecca stood tall, rolling up her sleeve to reveal the fading bruises on her wrist. You did this. And worse, she said, voice steady and certain, her eyes no longer fearful, but full of determination. Nathan tightened his grip, moving Charles toward the door and throwing him onto the red dirt street. You have 1 hour to leave town. If you return, I will not show mercy. Nathan said, cold and decisive. Charles scrambled to his feet, face pale with rage and pain from the throw, but still reached for his gun. In a blink, Nathan drew faster, a single shot, ringing out, striking Charles in the shoulder. He cried out, clutching his arm, collapsing. Doc Sullivan, hearing the commotion, ran out and helped take Charles into the doctor's office. Nathan said nothing more, turning back his deep voice, softening slightly. Are you hurt? Rebecca panted, pressing her hand to his cheek, where he had just protected her. Just scared. You're not a killer, she said, voice softening. Nathan exhaled, eyes showing slight fatigue, yet still gentle. I've had to kill before to protect what was mine. But today, it's different. In that moment, Rebecca felt her heart stir, not from love, but from justice protection, and a quiet satisfaction watching the man who caused her pain face consequences. She realized not all men inflicted harm. Some stood ready to defend what was right. After the tension subsided, Nathan placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. You're safe now. No one will harm you again. He said, his voice deep and certain. Rebecca looked at him, eyes shimmering, filled with the feeling of being protected. Fear had receded, replaced by trust and hope. The small room bathed in gentle golden sunset light, with the wind whispering through the cracks, created a space both tense and tender, where justice and protection blended with satisfaction and security. Rebecca realized for the first time she could stand tall, face the past, and no longer tremble. Nathan was not only her protector, but a pillar, a foundation for her heart to heal and open to new hope. The afternoon ended with the last sunlight filling the room in gold. Nathan and Rebecca stood close, words unnecessary. Their eyes spoke volumes. Empathy, protection, justice, and trust. Rebecca exhaled, eyes closed, warmth spreading through her, while Nathan remained beside her, ready to shield her from whatever might come. Part 5. Recovery and Teaching. Morning sunlight filtered through the wooden window slats of the schoolhouse, casting pale golden rays over neatly arranged desks and the old piano in the corner. The space was quiet, broken only by the soft whisper of wind through the cracks, the rustle of leaves against the window frame, and the chirping of birds in the schoolyard. Rebecca Porter stepped inside, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. After weeks of recovery at Double H Ranch, she could finally return to her original dream, teaching and living a meaningful life. She sat at the piano, her fingers lightly touching the polished keys. feeling the familiar rhythm and resistance. Each note that sprang from her fingertips was like a balm to her soul, reminding her of her younger days when music had been her sanctuary and her sense of freedom within the family. Now, after so much pain, those notes had become a bridge between a wounded past and a hopeful present. Nathan stood outside the door hat, sat on the table watching her silently. He did not intrude or speak, merely standing with a gentle yet attentive gaze. His steadfast presence made Rebecca feel protected without fear as she opened her heart to the instrument and the world around her. Every note she played, every melody resonated softly in the small room, but seemed to soothe Nathan as well, drawing a faint smile as he watched her lose herself in her music. After a few weeks, Rebecca began teaching. Children from ages 6 to 16 arrived in the classroom full of curiosity and eagerness. She welcomed each of them, asking questions and offering warm smiles. The small classroom came alive not only through laughter and chatter, but also through the tender care Rebecca gave each child. She observed every gaze, every smile, every hesitation as they struggled with the alphabet or their first arithmetic lessons. Joy filled her heart, a reminder that even in a harsh world, there were pure, hopeful moments that could heal. When classes ended, Rebecca often led the children to the veranda, where sunlight streamed through thin curtains, and taught them simple folk songs or hymns. Her voice was warm, yet soft, just loud enough for the children to hear and follow. Nathan sometimes stood outside, quietly observing, his eyes filled with pride and gentleness. He never intervened, but his steady presence reassured her. And gradually, Rebecca realized that she did not always have to face the world alone. There were people like Nathan willing to stand beside her, sharing and protecting. One evening, as the sunset streamed through the schoolhouse windows, Rebecca turned to the piano and played melodies she had once practiced in Philadelphia. The notes rose softly, rich with emotion, telling her story from pain and fear to recovery and hope. Nathan stood by the door hat on the table, watching her with gentle eyes. "Those are the most beautiful melodies I've ever heard," he said when she paused. Rebecca smiled, her heart stirring gently, realizing that Nathan's listening care and quiet trust had helped her open her heart once more. In the following days, the classroom became a central part of Rebecca's new life. She grew accustomed to the rhythm of the small town, the occasional trips to Double H Ranch to rest or seek Nathan's help when needed. Each time she crossed the fields, saw the grazing cattle, or heard the whispering wind, her heartbeat steadied. Past pain and injury gradually gave way to small, steady peace and happiness. In the evenings, after the children had left, Rebecca often stayed at the piano, letting music fill the room. Nathan sometimes sat beside her, saying nothing, simply allowing her to feel his presence. Sometimes she played joyful songs, other times soft, melancholic tunes. But Nathan always listened, his gaze full of gentleness and empathy. That connection required no words, yet was more powerful than any story. It was healing hope and belief in the future. One late afternoon, Nathan led her to the ranch veranda after school. The golden sunlight bathed the fields, and a gentle breeze brushed her hair and dress. She looked out, inhaled deeply, and for the first time in months, felt peace in every heartbeat and every breath. Nathan stood beside her, gaze tender yet steady, "You did well today," he said, his voice deep and warm. She smiled softly, cheeks flushed, a mixture of pride and gentle relief. In the following evenings, Rebecca focused on music teaching and taking time for herself. She gradually integrated into life in Redemption Springs, steadily recovering her health and slowly learning to trust in the safety and quiet love Nathan offered. Every melody, every child's laugh, every beam of sunlight through the window became part of her healing journey, something she had never thought possible. In those peaceful moments, Rebecca realized that hope, healing, and love did not arrive all at once. They came through small details, a touch, a caring glance, a gentle smile. Nathan did not need many words, yet every gesture conveyed absolute safety. For the first time, she felt her heart could open, welcoming not just music, but also people, emotions, and a new life. The afternoon, faded sunset, light softening beyond distant mountains, reflecting on green fields and small wooden houses. Rebecca sat at the piano, pressing each key, letting music mingle with the windbird song and the gentle sounds of the ranch. Nathan stood by the door, eyes full of pride and tenderness, saying nothing. His presence, the peace in each breath and heartbeat, transformed a girl, once abandoned and deeply hurt, into a strong, hopeful woman ready to open her heart to life's goodness. And in that moment, on the veranda by the old piano, amidst the sunset and the quiet of the ranch, Rebecca understood this was only the beginning of her journey. From pain to healing, from loneliness to connection, from fear to hope. Each day, every note, every child's laugh, every caring gesture from Nathan would continue to mend her. And she knew that for the first time in many months, she was truly living, truly loved, and able to trust. Part 6. Developing Feelings. Morning at Double H Ranch began with soft golden sunlight streaming through the wooden doors, illuminating the sprawling fields where cattle grazed leisurely. The air was quiet, filled only with birdsong, the rustle of leaves in the trees, and occasionally the creak of wooden floors under Nathan's feet as he checked the ranch before Rebecca awoke. Rebecca left the bedroom, eyes squeezed shut against the bright sunlight, stepping down the stairs in a simple yet tidy dress. Nathan had prepared breakfast on the large wooden table, warm bread, a bowl of soup, a cup of milk, and some homemade strawberry jam. He smiled as she appeared, his gaze gentle, welcoming an important part of his life. "Good morning, Nathan," said his deep voice, warm. "Have something to eat, and then we'll head to the fields." Rebecca sat down, nodding, her heart fluttering lightly. She had never felt such peace, warm food, fresh air, and a man beside her, neither rushing nor imposing, merely present, steadfast, and protective. After breakfast, Nathan led Rebecca to the pasture. He showed her the newly arrived cows from the northern mountains, explaining how to care for each one, how to check their health and spot signs of illness. Rebecca listened attentively, her eyes lighting up as Nathan meticulously detailed every step. She laughed when he lifted a small calf, his expression serious yet warm, making her heart calm and light. Over the following hours, they worked together around the ranch. Nathan guided her in arranging the horse stalls, watering the vegetable garden, and cleaning out the outbuildings. Rebecca was initially clumsy, dropping tools, or stumbling occasionally. But Nathan was always there, offering guidance and encouragement. Each time he placed a hand on her shoulder to help her balance or bent down to pick up a fallen item, her heart fluttered in a new way. The closeness and care gradually becoming a deep source of comfort. At noon, they rested under the shade of a large tree near the cattle pen. Nathan poured cool water into a small cup for her. She took a sip, feeling the refreshing liquid slide down her throat, and in that moment, she experienced a sense of security she had never known. "Thank you," she said, voice slightly trembling but sincere. Nathan merely nodded, a brief smile flickering across his face, his eyes full of affection and protection. In the afternoon, Rebecca returned to the veranda where she usually sat at the piano after school. Nathan brought a few books on Western history, and together they read and exchanged stories about life, people, and the vast land around them. They laughed, shared opinions, and listened to one another, unhurried, unpressured, simply enjoying each other's presence. Rebecca realized that Nathan's companionship not only protected her physically, but also allowed her to open her heart trust and find joy in the small details of life. In the following days, their routine became familiar: mornings in the fields, midday rest, afternoons tending the ranch, and evenings by the piano or veranda. Each passing moment was filled with gentle actions, tender care, and Nathan's soft, attentive gaze. Rebecca recognized that her feelings for him were growing, not rushed, but certain, gentle, yet full of weight. One evening, as the sunset light streamed through the windows, Nathan led Rebecca to the meadow behind the house. He taught her to ride a horse, guiding her step by step, helping her stand tall and maintain balance. For the first time, she sat atop the horse with a racing heart. But Nathan was beside her, his hand lightly on the horse's back to ensure she did not fall. When she smiled, after a few minutes of confidence, Nathan smiled too, his eyes filled with pride and tenderness. Back on the veranda, they sat together, gazing at the star-filled western sky. The space was quiet, filled only with the soft breeze across the fields and the flicker of the oil lamp inside. Rebecca placed her hand over Nathan's, feeling warmth and steadiness. "Thank you," she whispered, eyes closed, "for giving me the chance to live again, to trust, and to be loved." Nathan said nothing, simply holding her hand gently, his gaze full of affection and protection. That feeling, the sense of safety and closeness, made Rebecca realize she could fully open her heart, beginning a new chapter where fear no longer held sway. In the following days, they continued their daily routines together. Nathan guiding her in the garden, planting wildflowers. Rebecca helping care for the animals, checking the cattle, and planning for the harvest season. Each small action became an intimate moment, deepening their bond and the gentle romantic feelings between them. In quiet evenings, Rebecca sat at the piano, playing new melodies, while Nathan listened, his gaze tender and appreciative. Music and Nathan's presence became a source of healing, helping her trust that past trauma would no longer dictate her present. Gradually, their feelings developed naturally, from trust and tenderness to small gestures of closeness, affectionate glances, and sincere words. Each day, they understood each other more, and hope, joy, and healing spread throughout Double H Ranch, making it a true home for Rebecca. The next morning, Nathan led her to the pasture, sunlight glinting off the horses' backs and the golden grass beneath their feet. They paused, watching the grazing cattle breathing in the fresh air. Rebecca leaned against Nathan, feeling his steady heartbeat and warmth. "I've never felt this peaceful before," she said softly, sincerely. Nathan smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder, eyes full of hope. "You deserve it, and I will always be here for you." As sunset bathed the ranch in golden light, Rebecca looked at Nathan, realizing that their feelings had grown deep, a relationship built on trust, tenderness, and hope for a bright future. Music light wind, and Nathan's steadfast presence had become a remedy for every lingering pain in her soul, opening a new chapter filled with warmth, closeness, and happiness. Part 7. Enduring Love. Evening descended on Double H Ranch, the sunlight fading, casting golden light across the vast fields. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of grass and damp earth. Birds chirped their final songs of the day, and the gentle sounds of animals in the barns added a soft, natural melody. Nathan stood on the porch, hands resting on the railing, gaze calm yet warm as he surveyed the fields. Beside him, Rebecca stepped out, her hair lightly stirred by the breeze, eyes sparkling with joy as she took in the expansive landscape. "We still need to check the cattle before dark," Nathan said, his deep voice warm. Rebecca smiled, following him into the fields, a lightness spreading through each step. For the first time in months, she truly felt happy, safe and at peace, an experience not everyone had the privilege to know. They walked together through the ranch, Nathan guiding her on how to check the cattle's health and identify signs of fatigue or illness. Rebecca watched closely, eyes brightening as she noticed each small detail Nathan pointed out. Nathan smiled occasionally, offering gentle reminders. "Be careful with this calf. It's young and easily startled." Rebecca knelt to stroke the calf eyes, sparkling with delight. In that moment, Nathan looked at her lips, curling into a soft smile, eyes filled with affection. After inspecting the cattle, they tidied the horse stalls, arranged tools, and prepared feed for the horses. Rebecca was slightly clumsy, at first dropping a few items, but Nathan was always nearby, guiding and gently encouraging her. He placed a hand on her shoulder to steady her as she bent to pick up a shovel, then winked, playfully making her laugh. Her laughter echoed across the fields, blending with the wind to create a cheerful and warm harmony. Once their work was done, Nathan led Rebecca to the back pasture, where the late sunlight painted the fields and distant mountains gold. He showed her how to use some farm tools and observed the land, recognizing signs of the approaching harvest. Rebecca followed his instructions, carefully, hands brushing the grass, feeling the natural scent and the softness of the soil beneath her feet. Nathan stood beside her eyes, gentle, ready to help whenever needed. As the afternoon passed, they rested under the shade of a large tree, sipping cool water and talking about everyday matters, the grass, the cattle, and the upcoming harvest. Rebecca told Nathan about the children in her class and the lessons that brought her the most happiness. Nathan listened, eyes full of pride and tenderness. He did not interrupt, only occasionally nodding, smiling, or lightly placing a hand over hers as she shared a joyful story. These small, warm gestures made Rebecca's heart flutter, and a gentle love spread through her. As the golden sunlight faded, they returned home together, carrying tools and animal feed. While Nathan tended the barns, Rebecca prepared a simple dinner: soup, bread, and vegetables from the garden. Nathan occasionally helped her chop vegetables, their hands, brushing eyes, meeting, communicating everything without words. The closeness, trust, and security filled the space, creating a profound sense of harmony between them. In the evening, they sat on the porch, looking out over the vast fields under the soft moonlight. Nathan shared stories about the early days of building the ranch, the difficulties, failures, and small triumphs. Rebecca listened eyes wide, sensing his perseverance, strength, and quiet gentleness. She realized that love did not always have to be loud or grandiose. Sometimes it was a steady presence, gentle and ready to share every hardship. In those quiet moments, Rebecca placed her hand on Nathan's, feeling his warmth and steadfastness. "Thank you," she whispered, voice soft but filled with sincerity. Nathan smiled, saying nothing, simply holding her hand firmly. The moonlight illuminated their gentle faces, creating a warm scene where love blossomed naturally, subtle yet profound. The next day, Nathan led Rebecca to the pasture to learn how to care for the young horses. She observed learned and practiced hands brushing the horses' soft coats, listening to their distant neighs. Nathan stood beside her, guiding gently, occasionally chuckling at her clumsiness, and they laughed together. The sense of closeness and familiarity grew, and their feelings deepened. In the following evenings, they sat together on the porch, Rebecca playing the piano while Nathan listened. Music blended with the wind, rustling leaves, and gentle laughter, creating a soothing harmony that healed the remaining fatigue and pain in Rebecca's soul. Every note, every gesture, every shared glance became precious moments, reinforcing their love, safety, and hope. Day by day, daily life on the ranch became more than work. It was a lesson in trust, tender love, and mutual care. Rebecca learned to open her heart, trust Nathan, and feel the protection and sincere affection he offered. Nathan, in turn, learned to be gentler, to share more, and to experience joy in everyday moments with her. As evening fell and the sunset light faded, they walked across the fields. Rebecca leaned against Nathan, feeling the warmth and steadiness of his presence. She knew that for the first time in months, she was truly loved, protected, and able to trust completely. Nathan looked at her with gentle eyes, a soft smile, and together they felt a love that was calm, tender, yet deep and enduring. The evening ended with them returning home, sitting by the fireplace, sipping warm tea, and talking about the ranch's future, the coming harvest, the classroom, and music. Their companionship, care, and attention to each small moment made them feel closer than ever. The love between Nathan and Rebecca was not just gentle romance. It was a solid foundation, creating absolute safety and trust. As night fell, the moonlight illuminated the quiet ranch grass, swaying lightly in the breeze, animals softly stirring in the barns. Nathan placed a hand on Rebecca's shoulder. She leaned into him, warmth spreading through her. She knew their love had grown strong, and that all past pain and fear had been partially healed. In that moment, they truly belonged to each other in the wild yet warm and safe West, where tender love blossomed and endured. Part 8. The Wedding. on the red dirt road leading to the small church in Redemption. Spring's light winter snow floated in the air, carrying a crisp, yet strangely warm feeling. The simple wooden church, with its sloping roof dusted in snow, glowed with candlelight flickering through small windows, casting dancing shadows on the wooden floor. Outside, the landscape was cold and white, but inside, where the sanctuary was decorated with fresh evergreen branches, golden lights, and twinkling candles, the atmosphere was warm, fragrant with wood and pine, and accompanied by soft piano music playing gently from the corner. Rebecca entered the church, her light blue gown swaying with each step, hair pinned elegantly, yet softly falling over her shoulders. Her heart raced, but the fear and tension of past months were gone. Her heart was full of happiness, peace, and the healing she had found through difficult times. Her students' children from Rebecca's class smiled brightly, carrying small gifts, a knitted scarf, a few fresh eggs from home, a bouquet of wildflowers. Each gift carried love, admiration, and joy for the woman who had brought light and knowledge into their lives. Nathan stood at the altar, wearing a tailored vest, eyes full of affection as he watched Rebecca walk down the aisle. He was quiet, yet his gaze sparkled with pride and joy. The months of building the ranch, caring for the children, confronting the past and pain, were all captured in this moment, the moment he and Rebecca would officially belong to each other. The church was filled with piano music notes played by Rebecca herself, gentle yet profound, reflecting the journey from pain and fear to hope, love, and peace. Nathan watched her, a slow smile forming on his lips, hands clasped firmly yet tenderly, ready to protect and support her for a lifetime. The officiant stood at the altar, voice deep but warm. We gather here today to witness the union of two souls, two people who have overcome trials and pain and have found true love. The space was quiet, lit only by candle flames, warm light, and the emotional gazes of the attendees toward the couple. Rebecca approached, hand in hand with Nathan, their fingers intertwined like a silent promise to share joy, sorrow challenges, and happiness together. When the officiant asked Nathan Harding, "Do you promise to love, protect, and care for Rebecca Porter for the rest of your life, in all circumstances?" Nathan looked directly into her eyes, his voice deep and confident. "I do." The officiant continued, "With Rebecca Porter, do you promise to trust, love, and accompany Nathan Harding for the rest of your life in all circumstances?" Rebecca smiled, voice gentle yet resolute. "I do." In that moment, the music rose and fell. The candle flames reflected on their hair and faces, and the entire room seemed to beat in rhythm with their hearts. Attendees, family, friends, neighbors, and Rebecca's students felt complete happiness and healing from the painful past that both Rebecca and Nathan had endured. After exchanging rings, Nathan kissed Rebecca gently on the lips. Happiness filled the air, not just within them, but spreading throughout the church. Every fear, pain, and insecurity of the past seemed to melt away, replaced by trust, tender love, and profound peace. The room glowed with candlelight laughter and tears of joy, creating a scene both warm and sacred. When the ceremony concluded, everyone stepped outside the sunset, casting golden light over the snow-covered fields, reflecting the church's glow. Nathan and Rebecca walked side by side, hands, intertwined eyes, sparkling with joy, happiness, and security. They saw Rebecca's students running across the field, friends and neighbors smiling and offering blessings, creating a scene of serenity and hope. That evening, at Double H Ranch, they returned home, candlelight flickering and the fireplace glowing, the entire ranch filled with warmth. Nathan held Rebecca in his arms, gently kissing her forehead, whispering, "From today, we will build a new life together, peaceful and happy." Rebecca smiled, feeling his heartbeat align with hers, knowing that, for the first time in many months, she was truly living, truly loved, and fully healed. The next morning, the ranch awoke to morning light, the sounds of cattle and horses mingling with birdsong. Rebecca and Nathan worked together, sharing chores, laughing and caring for one another as they always had. But this time, their hearts were full of complete happiness, gentle love, hope, and an absolute sense of safety. In the months following the wedding, the ranch became a true home, a place where Nathan and Rebecca lived, learned, worked, and loved together. Every moment was filled with care sharing and healing from the past, creating a life of peace, joy, and purpose. The final sunset shone through the old church windows, reflecting off the snow-covered fields and the happy faces of the newlyweds. From pain, fear, and abandonment, they had now found complete love, peace, and the strength to build a new life where all past wounds had been healed and their trust in each other and in love had become stronger than ever. Part 9. Family Life. A light winter settled over Double H Ranch. The surrounding fields, coated with a thin layer of frost, morning sunlight reflecting off the dewdrops like thousands of sparkling crystals. The air was cold, yet fresh, mingling with the scent of burning wood from the fireplace, creating a rare sense of peace in the vast Wild West. Rebecca woke in the small bedroom, gentle light filtering through the window, falling on her soft hair. She smiled upon hearing her young daughter Emma softly calling from the bed beside her. Nathan, already awake, was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. The rustling of pots and pans and the flickering fire brought warmth and life to the room. "Good morning." Mama Emma's innocent, clear voice rang out, cheerful and bright. Rebecca leaned down, kissed her hair, and a wave of love spread through her. Nathan approached, placing a hand on her shoulder, eyes tender and affectionate. "We have a warm breakfast ready. Let's eat before heading to the fields." "Kids," he said, deep and warm. Breakfast in the cozy little kitchen was lively, with the laughter of Rebecca, Nathan, and Emma blending with the crackle of the fire. Rebecca prepared food for her daughter, reminding her to eat well, while Nathan poured milk, cut bread, and attended to every small detail as he had once done for Rebecca. Each gesture, a hand held a smile. A gentle question was filled with love and care, making the ranch feel warm and peaceful. After breakfast, Nathan led Rebecca and Emma to the pastures to check the cattle and horses. Emma ran and jumped eyes bright, following her parents as they watched the grazing cows. Rebecca held her hand, guiding her first careful steps on the dewy grass, while Nathan stood close eyes, gentle but vigilant, ensuring their safety. The three of them toured the ranch together, checking the stables, feeding the animals, and enjoying the connection to the vast natural world. At noon, they returned home, where the fireplace blazed, warming the room. Rebecca prepared lunch. Nathan helped Emma eat, and Emma shared small, humorous stories about school and friends. The child's laughter, mingling with the soft wind outside, created a soothing harmony, melting away the cold and worry of the winter outside. In the afternoon, Rebecca and Nathan spent time together, tending the garden, planting new trees, weeding, and checking animal enclosures. Emma helped her mother water the plants, tiny hands touching the soil, giggling as droplets splashed. Nathan stood nearby, guiding, occasionally placing a hand on Rebecca's shoulder or holding Emma's hand, his gaze full of love. Each moment was imbued with connection, joy, and family happiness. As evening fell, they returned to the kitchen. The fire crackled warmly, heating the room. Rebecca prepared dinner. Nathan set the food on the table, and Emma joined in, sharing stories of the day. The sounds of the kitchen, the child's laughter, and the crackling fire created a serene, warm, and loving atmosphere. After dinner, Rebecca led Emma to the piano. She played gentle melodies, Emma listening intently and clapping along. Nathan stood nearby, watching the mother and daughter with pride and joy. The music, laughter, soft light from the fireplace, and Nathan's steady presence filled the room with safety, healing, and peace. On another quiet evening, as wind whispered through the windows, Nathan, Rebecca, and Emma sat on the porch, looking out over the frost-covered fields. They shared stories about the past, the day they met, and the challenges they had overcome. Rebecca recalled the days of abandonment, the pain caused by Charles, and felt grateful for Nathan, who had brought love, protection, and hope. Nathan held her hand, placing it over Emma's small hand, and said softly, "We've been through so much, and now we have each other, a family, and a true home." Rebecca felt a deep sense of security, her heart warm, knowing all past pain had been healed, making way for complete happiness. In the following months, life at Double H Ranch became steady, yet full of joy. Each morning, Rebecca and Nathan cared for their child, prepared meals, checked the ranch, and taught lessons. Each evening, they sat by the fireplace, played music, read, or simply watched the serene landscape outside. Emma grew up surrounded by love and care, her laughter the heartbeat and source of inspiration for both parents. Winter passed, the cold days softened by the warmth of togetherness. Nathan and Rebecca learned to share tasks, support each other through challenges, and cherish even the smallest moments, holding hands, giggling, sharing meals, or simply sitting together, watching the fire dance. Every moment created a space of warmth, safety, and love. On quiet evenings, after Emma had gone to bed, Rebecca and Nathan sat on the porch, hand in hand, gazing over the expansive fields. Words were unnecessary. Their eyes, breath, and presence conveyed every emotion. Peace, warmth, and happiness filled them, making them feel that all past pain had been healed, replaced by complete trust, love, and hope. Winter ended, and the ranch came alive with spring colors, lush greenery, blooming flowers, and playful cattle and horses. Despite the changing seasons, their daily rhythm, gentle love, family bond, and sense of security remained constant, forming the foundation for lasting happiness for Rebecca, Nathan, and their children. Double H Ranch was now more than a home. It was a sanctuary where love, care, healing, and peace converged. Rebecca, looking at Nathan and Emma by her side, knew that for the first time in many long months, she truly felt whole, happy, peaceful, and unconditionally loved. Night fell over Double H Ranch. Pale moonlight hanging in the vast western sky. A gentle wind stirred the trees, carrying the scent of grass, moist earth, and the faint aroma of the fireplace. On the veranda, Nathan Harding and Rebecca Porter sat side by side, hand in hand, gazing over the sprawling fields they had nurtured together. The warm veranda, once filled with the children's laughter, was now quiet, giving way to tranquility and peace. The rustling wind, swaying leaves, and silver moonlight created a magical, gentle scene, making hearts beat slow and deep. Nathan gently squeezed Rebecca's hand, eyes full of love and tenderness. "Do you know," Nathan whispered, deep and warm, "from the day I met you at the trading post, I promised that no one would ever hurt you again. And I've kept that promise, but more than that, I want you to know that your heart will always be safe with me." Rebecca turned to him, eyes glistening with emotion. She smiled, voice soft yet certain, "And I feel that I found a place of peace, a place where the pain no longer holds me, where I can open my heart and trust." She leaned close to Nathan, feeling warmth radiate from him, his presence steady, like a wall shielding every remaining worry and fear. They sat together in silence, not empty, but full of love, empathy, and simple yet profound happiness. The vast field stretched to the horizon, bathed in moonlight, illuminating the grasses, dirt paths, outbuildings, and stables they had nurtured together. All had become symbols of a healed, warm, and hopeful life. Rebecca rested her head, placing a hand on Nathan's chest, feeling his steady heartbeat. "You know," she whispered, "in this harsh West, we sometimes think only loneliness and challenges remain. But now I realize that love and kindness, those are the true shelter for a fragile heart, giving us the strength to move forward." Nathan nodded gently, kissing her hair, his voice deep and warm. "Exactly. And I'm fortunate that you gave me the chance to walk beside you for the rest of our lives. We've weathered storms together, and now we can build everything, our ranch, our family, in complete happiness." A soft breeze swept across the veranda, ruffling Rebecca and Nathan's hair, as if emphasizing every word and emotion they had shared. They gazed out over the fields where the cattle grazed peacefully, moonlight reflecting off their backs, creating a tranquil scene that filled them with gratitude and joy. "We'll teach our children everything we've learned." Nathan continued, eyes focused on the distance, yet still warmly on Rebecca. "About love, kindness, the power of trust and sharing. That's the greatest gift we can pass on." Rebecca smiled, squeezing Nathan's hand, and for the first time after so many long, difficult months, she felt complete happiness was no longer just hope, but the reality she was living. Music, laughter, gentle wind, moonlight, and Nathan's steady presence all blended into a scene like no other, where her heart felt utterly at peace. They sat in silence, occasionally exchanging tender glances, soft smiles, or simply holding hands tightly. Every small gesture contained love, kindness, and care elements that had saved both Rebecca and Nathan from their painful pasts, abandoned fear, and opened a new chapter in life. The houses, horse stalls, fields, and distant mountains bore witness to their love story. From pain and hardship, they had found healing love and peace. Their slow, steady breathing, mingling with the wind and moonlight, created a gentle, endless melody, a reminder that in the harsh West, Only love, empathy, and genuine kindness are true shelters for vulnerable hearts. Rebecca turned to Nathan, eyes glistening, voice soft. Thank you for keeping your promise, for always being by my side, and for giving me the chance to trust and love again. Nathan smiled, kissing her forehead, his voice deep and warm. And I thank you too for giving me the chance to care, to love, and to build this life with you. We'll keep walking together, no matter the challenges, because we have each other. Moonlight bathed the ranch, mingling with the rustling insects and the breeze moving through the grass and trees, creating a perfect picture of peace, healing, and complete love. They sat there holding each other, feeling each other's heartbeat, breath, and presence. Every past pain, fear, and loss had been healed, replaced with steadfast trust that love and kindness are the ultimate shelter, saving vulnerable hearts and bringing enduring happiness. The fields before them, the expansive ranch, the moon and starry sky, all became witnesses to their story. Love, trust, and kindness had triumphed over every challenge and hardship, and now Nathan and Rebecca could enjoy peace, happiness, and endless hope together. Rebecca leaned into Nathan, exhaling in relief, feeling warmth radiate from his body through his hands, shoulders, and heart. We found each other in the Wild West, she whispered, and now I know I am no longer alone. Nathan squeezed her hand, voice deep yet gentle. Never again. We will be together through every season, every storm, and every moonlight. Our home is here in love and kindness. As the night grew late, the ranch settled into quiet. Only Nathan and Rebecca remained on the veranda, holding each other, looking over the vast fields and the sparkling moonlit sky. All trials, pain, and loss had become the past. Only peace, gentle love, and endless hope remained. And in that moment, as the wind lightly stirred their hair, as moonlight shone on their faces, Rebecca knew their story, from pain and fear to healing and happiness, would always stand as proof of one truth: in the harsh West, love and kindness save vulnerable hearts and bring true, lasting happiness. Leave a comment and rate it from 0 to 10. Subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss the next ride.